Hey everyone, this is Brad with I Teach 3D, and today I want to go over two different ways to make lights flicker, and then we'll show one way to do a light toggle. So two ways to make or fake a light flicker, and then one way to do a light toggle. So let's go ahead and get started. I actually, what I did was I took these lights here, these fire lights from the content examples. You can find those there, and just brought them in. But you can see the lights; they're not really casting any light up against the wall here. So I'd like to put a little bit of light flicker up there. So let's go ahead and get started. And you could do these as a level blueprint. I mean, you could do these here, but I want to do it as a blueprint class, and that way I can take these and put them in other levels. I can migrate them over and all of that. So let's make a blueprint class. All right, and I'm going to choose actor. An actor is an object that can be placed or spawned in the world. So let's just choose actor because I am going to place these in the world. And where do I want to put these? I'm going to put them in this assets folder because that's kind of where I am already. So let's say there. And what is the name of my blueprint? I don't want to call it new blueprint. Let's call it, how about light flicker? This will be the one on the left. So the one on the left. Light flicker left. All right, so here it opens up my blueprint class, and let's go ahead and get started with it. Here's my viewport. I'm going to add a light component over here. So let's go to add component, and you can see under common, point light is a common thing. So let's go ahead and add a point light to it, and I can just leave it right here in the center. That's probably the best place for it. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can actually see its radius, and I'm going to leave the radius for now. I'm not really going to do a lot to this light right now. Let's just go ahead and leave it. So the thing I am going to do though is now that I have a light in my scene, I'm going into the event graph over here. The event graph. And you can see I've got a couple events that are already in here: event begin play, event actor begin overlap, and then event tick. This first one that I'm going to use is actually, I'm going to use an event tick. And you can see it says the event is called every frame if ticking is enabled, which it is. So I'm going to, and the target is an actor. Well, we already said that when I created my blueprint class that we're going to be working with an actor. Let's go ahead and do this. So the first thing I want to do with this point light is I know that I need to set some intensity for it. So I'm going to type in set intensity point light. And you can see there it is. It's already highlighted, set intensity point light. And it brings over the point light reference. That's this reference right here. That point light component, that's what this is referring to right there. All right, so I've got my point light is the target. So every tick, it's going to change the intensity of the light here. Well, what is the intensity? It's currently set to 0, so it's not even going to show up in my level. And let's change the intensity of that. So I'm going to pull off of new intensity. And I'd really like to have this random range of light intensity. So let's type in the word random. Oops, if I could spell right, random. And I would like a random float in range. Random float in range. And you see what that does is it gives us a minimum number and a maximum number for the intensity right there that I can choose for whatever numbers I want. Now, intensity numbers tend to be pretty high, so just so that we can see it and we can get a good look at it, I'm going to set my minimum to like I don't know, 1,000. And then my max, I want to make it bright, so I'm going to set it up to 10,000. All right. So my random float in range. So the light will flicker between an intensity of 1,000 and 10,000 is basically what's going on here. Okay, let's compile it. Let's save it, and let's go over into. Let's go into here. And there's my light flicker left. So I'm going to click it, drag it, and I'm going to throw it over here up against the wall. And let's see how it works. So I'm going to hit play. And whoa, look at that flicker. That's a pretty intense flicker based on the type of light, the type of fire I have there. So let's calm it down a little bit. That's way too much. So what I'll do is I'm going to put something in between because that event tick, I forget what it is, 30 times a second, 60 times a second. It's ticking, all right? It's like a sentinel that's just looking. It's ticking away here. So let's make a change in here. So I'm going to pull off my executable. I'm just going to put a slight delay in there. So I'm just going to type in delay. And then you can see, because I put it in between there, it cuts in between and inserts itself. And the duration right here, that's in seconds. So I'm going to leave it at 0.2 seconds. So that's every fifth of a second, it's going to change the intensity of the light. So let's see how that works. And again, I'm going to compile it. I'm going to save it. Let's bring it over here. Let's hit play. Oh, that's much better. So it's very uniform though, isn't it? It's very uniform. So it's every fifth of a second, it's changing the intensity of the light. Yeah, that's okay. I'm okay with that. One other thing is that firelight doesn't really create that white light in there. So let's change the color of the light as well. So I'm going to go into point light over here. And then over here you can see in the details, because I have it selected, light color, I'm just going to change that light color to maybe something orangey right there. And you can move it wherever you want it. I kind of like, that's a good color right there. That new color is the orange color. And then compile, save, and hit play. You can see it's orange now. So it gives me a nice little fire glow on it. And if you feel like it's too intense or it's too bright, then you can also go back in and just change the max range of your intensity. So instead of 10,000, maybe I'll just do like 5,000. Compile it, save it, and there, you can see it took it down, way down there. So, and I could even take the minimum down lower to 100 or 500 or something like that. Just whatever you feel like fits your scene and the level of the fire or light that you're dealing with. All right, so that was method one for creating a light flicker, and we used a random float in range with a delay using the event tick. All right, that's what we used. Let's go ahead and create another one. I'll leave this one up here. The second one we're going to do this a different way. So we're going to create a second blueprint class. So I'm just going to right click in here and say blueprint class. We also just learned two ways to make blueprint classes. All right, and again, we're going to use an actor. And this one, I will call it light flicker, and this will be on the right. So light flicker right. Sounds like a football play. Flea flicker right. Light flicker right. All right. All right, same thing. I'm going to add a light component. Let's just put a point light in there. I kind of like everything that's in here as well. Let's go ahead and leave it. I'm not going to rename it. I'm not going to worry about that. Now this time, let's go into the event graph, except this time, instead of using the event tick, let's pull these two out of the way. Let's use the event begin play here. And this time we're going to have more control. Like with the light flicker left, it was a random number that it was pulling. The only control we had over the intensity was the range. We chose either a minimum or a maximum range. But what if I wanted to have even a little bit more control over it than that? So what we'll do is we're going to create a timeline. Add timeline. And this allows us to actually animate specific numbers that we can put on there. Animate specific numbers that we can put on there. All right, so I'm going to put this on here. Oh, and then, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. So I'm going to double click my timeline to get into it. And then once again, so before we used a random float in range, so you can see this F plus right here, that's a float track. Let's go ahead and add a float track. I don't care if you name it light flicker, whatever. And then let's go ahead and add some keyframes to this. So I'm just simply going to right click on the line here and say add key to curve float 0, and so I can, there it is. And then I'll just continue to add. Now, first of all, let's make a couple other changes before we add any more. the length of this animation, this is your animation timeline, is 5 seconds. I don't want that. Let's just do it like 2 seconds, over the course of 2 seconds. So there it is, 2 seconds. And when it happens, we're going to autoplay it, and we're also going to loop it. Autoplay and loop, okay? So it's just going to go over and over and over again. Now what I'll do is I'm going to pick random points here. I'm going to right click on them, add key, and then I'll just add key, add key, add key. I'm just right clicking, adding just some random keys on here. There we go. And then this one, I'm just going to pull it down. Now keep in mind that here's the 0 line. If you go below 0, that's going to turn the light intensity off. Okay? So you may not, if you don't want to turn the light off, then leave it above the 0 line. And I'm right clicking to move my timeline down. And I want to get it between like 0 and 1 is what I'm doing here. So I'm just going to have some up, I'll have some down, some up, maybe way up there. How about that? And then some down, some up, some down, and then I'll have another one way up there. All right, I kind of like that. And then it'll just repeat, right? So it's going to go flick, up, down, flick, 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 flick. And so this one, maybe I want it to be maybe right up there. So I can have some variety in the intensity as it goes up, and some variety in the intensity of the down, okay? Variety, very important, variety. And let's add one more. I'm just going to add one more right there because I want this to be down. There we go. All right, so this is pretty random. I wasn't trying to get any specific numbers. I was just eyeballing where I wanted these keys, and then I'm setting them where I want them. Now, once again, the values, you can see it says values, so it's giving me the value of each of these keys that I put in here. None of the values go above 1. All right, just keep that in mind. None of the values go above 1. Now I could really zoom this out and go up to 1,000 or 10,000 or whatever, but I've got a better way for us to do that. So let's go ahead and compile this and let's save it. There's our timeline. So let's go back into our event graph. And so now we've played this timeline in here. What do we want it to do? So what is that? What is all this animation affecting? This is going to affect, we're going to tell it, same thing as last time, right? We're going to set intensity of our point light. That one. Boom. And it even drags over again our point light from over here, the point light component. It drags it over with us. And let's pull that down here. All right, so we're setting the intensity. And look, it even created our light flicker, so that timeline, whatever we named it right here, the light flicker, it puts a new channel right down here for us. So that's our light flicker channel. Maybe I should put that up there just to keep it out of the way. So I'm going to hook up my light flicker. I'm going to hook it up into my new intensity. So instead of that intensity being 0 like was there, it's going to take on the values of those keys that we put in our timeline. It's going to take on these values right here. Okay. Wrong one, flicker right. There we go. I meant to hit this one, event graph. There we go. So it's going to take on the values. This set intensity will take on the values of light flicker of the keys we put in there. All right, I kind of like it. Let's do it and see what's going to happen. Right? Some of you already know what's going to happen. Remember, we kept our values between 0 and 1. And so I'm going to hit, I got to drag it out here first. Light flicker right. So let's put it over there. All right, so it's up against the wall. Same thing. It's got the same radius and everything. Let's go ahead and hit play. And it doesn't show up, does it? Because the values are between 0 and 1. So let's go ahead and fix that. So what we'll do is we're going to put a multiply in here. Now remember, these are floats. Okay, so we're going to put a multiply in here. So I'm going to drag off of my light flicker. I'll just put in the asterisk. Boom. And that takes me to float, but I want the float times float here. So it puts it right in between, and then I'll just drag off there. Boom. Now right now it's multiplying the values of light flicker times 0, and then it's outputting that number plugging into new intensity. I don't want it to be 0. Anything times 0 is 0. So let's add a big number like 1,000. So now it's taking all of those numbers from my timeline, all of these values right here, and it's multiplying each one of these keys by 1,000 is what we're just doing here. That's all we did. Pretty simple. So I'm going to compile and save. Let's go back into here. Let's hit play. Where's my light? Oh man, look at what happened. There it is. It's kind of tiny. Oh, it's it's not even. It's in the wall. Let's bring it out. There we go. All right, it was in the wall. I was like, what is going on? All right, let's hit play. Ah, very nice. Okay, I've got these nice light values there, and you can see it flickering. It's got, yeah, it's good. It's white light though. Let's change the white light. Let's go back into point light. Let's make this one more red. And so I'm just going to drag up the red light here. I kind of like that just to see what it does. Okay. So anyway, we multiplied it times 1,000. So this is why we didn't take these numbers, these values, and crank those up to 1,000 or 10,000 or whatever, because every time I wanted to change them, I would have to come in and do it by hand and change all these numbers by hand. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to keep them between my 0 and 1. And then the way I do that is I come back into the event graph. And this way I only have to mess with this float times float. And I just change this one number and then it changes my intensity. So now when I come back into here, save it, come back into here. Whoa, that's a bright red light. And so there it is. So I've got the bright orange light flickering with the random float and range on the left. And then on the right, I have my right light with the red light there flickering as well. And then if I wanted, just to show you that if I wanted to change the intensity, I'll just add another 0 on here. Compile it, save it, and then bring it back over. And now it's going to be like, yeah, this really bright overbearing light. So I kind of liked it better when it was at 1,000. So let's take that back down. So I'll get rid of a 0 in there. Boom. All right. Compile, save. Good. So now I've got the left light, the right light. Two different ways to do light flicker. And it's just whichever one you feel like gives you the best control that you want. All right. What about, we said we're also going to do a light toggle. So let's go ahead and do a toggle on this next one. You know what? Same thing. We're going to do a blueprint class. You could also do this as a level blueprint, but I'm going to do it as a blueprint class. So that way I can use it in other levels as well. Blueprint class, again, it's going to be an actor. So this will be a light toggle. The toggle means that when I walk into the area where the light is, it'll turn on or off, and then a toggle switch is an on-off switch. And so then if you leave it, then it'll turn on or off or whatever. It'll do the opposite of whatever it was. So, all right, so very good. Let's go ahead and open up our light toggle by double-clicking it. Throws it right up there. And again, let's go over to Add Component. Let's get another point light. They're just easy to work with when you're teaching stuff. So I'm just going to use point light. And this time, however, instead of, let's see, let's go into the event graph here. And instead of using event begin play or an event tick, let's use this event actor begin overlap. And that way when we overlap the area, the space that we want the player to overlap it and turn the light on, and then when the player leaves, they'll turn it off. And so, but we have to get an event actor end overlap as well. So let's right click. You can go into here. You can either search for it or you can just go add event. It's a collision event, and there it is, event actor end overlap. So now we got both of those in there. All right, but when they begin overlap, what do we want to happen? What we'd like to happen is we want to toggle visibility. Toggle visibility of the point light that is in our scene there. Toggle visibility. All right, turn it on and off. And then let's also put this in here as well. Toggle visibility. All right, that's a good start. This is not all of it. That's a good start. And so if I compile it, if I save it, let's go into here. Let's add it. I'm just going to put it like right in front of the player. light toggle. Let's just put it right over here, maybe pull it up just a little bit. And then when we hit play, if I come over here, look, the toggle's not active yet. It's not working. We got to activate that toggle. All right, so let's go back into our light toggle. We're still in the event graph. I did not toggle it or make it active. So let's drag off of event actor begin overlap. And let's type in toggle active. Oops, I can't see. Toggle active. Toggle active. Boom. All right, toggle active. And the the default scene root, let's get rid of that. I don't want it. Delete. All right, we're also going to attach event actor end overlap to my toggle active. Do you see how this is flowing much nicer now? So now it will begin overlap, toggle active, light. Now you can do it this way. You can take the light, can be the target of both of these. But you're going to have to be right on the light in order for it to, you'll have to be right on the light in order to toggle it. Let's go ahead and compile it and save it. This is not the final way we're going to do this. So I'm going to hit play. There's the light. I'm going to go into it. Oh, yeah, see, we're still not toggling that thing. Let's go back into our light toggle. And what I'd like to do is I want to give it a different target. Instead of the light being the target, I don't want to have to be standing right on the light. So I'm going to hold the Alt key and click on my line to delete that. What I'd like to do is give it a space or an area that I would like it to overlap in order for the light to toggle on and off. So let's do that. I'm going to add another component over here. So I'm going to add component. What I'd like to do is add a collision opponent. There's no trigger volumes in here. There's no trigger volumes, but we do have these collision boxes, capsule sphere. So I'm going to choose a box collision. There it is. And I'm just going to click it and drag it right out, boom, here, because this represents that box component right there. And let's make that the target. And there's my box component. And I like that, so let's compile and save, and let's go back into my scene. Light flicker. There's the box. You can see the box right there in the scene. Let's see if I can click there it is. All right, so you can see it in the scene, so I'm going to hit play. You don't see it there, but now it toggles it off. When I overlap it, it turns it off. Toggles it. All right, very good. Now that box wasn't very big. That box was actually pretty small. And so what I'd like to do is I'm going to take this box and I'm going to scale it up so that it will be, let's say I was in a room and I wanted to make it larger. So I'm just going to take this. Let's make sure that you're locked here so I can scale this box on all three axes at the same time. So I'm going to scale it by 10. And so it's a much bigger box now. And let's move our player out of the box. There we go. All right, so I'll hit play. There's the light. And when I enter the box, boom, turns it off when I leave it. So we're toggling it on and off. But some of you are saying, well, wait a minute, I want it to be off. And then when I enter it, I want it to turn on. All right, let's do that. If you're going to be that picky about it. All right, let's start the point light. There's the point light. Whoops. And the point light, let's turn it. Let's start it where it's not visible because we're toggling it, right? So here's what it's doing, toggling the visibility where we are starting it on. So let's start it off. How about that? Now we'll compile and save it. And now when we hit play, all right, where's that light? It's gone. Now I'm going to move forward into boom, and it turns on. I'm overlapping, and I'm not. All right, I can't see that box. Let's see if we can see the box in the scene. I'm going to select the box over here, and you can see it says hidden in game. Let's uncheck hidden in game so that I can see it in the game so I know where I'm overlapping. All right, let's hit play. There it is. You can see kind of the red outline of the box here. So when I touch the box, boom, the light toggles on and off. There we go. Very cool. All right, so that's pretty much it for this light video. I showed you two different ways to get flickering lights, and then I showed you one way to do a light toggle. I hope you enjoyed it. This is Brad with I Teach 3D. Thank you very much, and I will see you next time.